So, man, this is the interesting thing about solo role-playing. Sometimes it can go completely in a way that's different than what you expect. And what happens, like, he might just die, like 1, 2, or 3. So somebody else is not trying to flip you off. I'm just going to go with it. Okay, so we are getting back to our third chapter of this series, which is Wulf's story. Just for reference, Wulf is our half-orc acolyte. So Wulf is chaotic. He has a rope that's 60 feet long. And I think I see a connection here. If he comes across poor Junoor from our last episode, he may end up using that grappling hook to great effect. And his personality, he's annoyed. Wulf, as you recall, in a previous video, was banished from the Our Lady of Mercy Abbey, which is right here on this map. And he worked for the Iran Post until he was fired. This is a little backstory. He, went after the supervisor for some reason, and now he has been sent to the secret pits. And he has to get this thing called Shun's Litany, right? Shun's Litany, which is this magic scroll which has the power to raise the dead, spirits, revenants, whatever. All right, here's a mini Wulf. And unfortunately, I didn't actually have a half-orc mini, so I'm just using a normal orc from, I think, a Lord of the Rings board game that I have. So just so we have something, and we'll stick them in the cells for now. For our tools this session, we are going to be using Solodark. And, I realized I have not done Solodark's Oracle correctly in any of the episodes. So we're going to go back to Solodark's normal Oracle. And we are going to be doing the check here. 1 through 9 is a no, 10 is a twist, 11 through 20 is yes. However, if you roll an odd number, if your Oracle check is an odd number, the outcome has a turnabout phrased as but. So that will alter the situation without fully negating the result. And then critical, again, if we roll a 1 or a 20, then the outcome is the most extreme version possible. So I realized that this Oracle table doesn't use the and. That's okay. We're still going to try it out. And get it? And we'll see how it goes. And a lot of the time, you're going to roll with advantage or disadvantage based on how likely the outcome is. Okay, so we will be using the Oracle from Solodark. We obviously have our Shadowdark rules, which we're going to try to adhere to. And then for the dungeon, one of the things in Solodark that says is, in this page, I need a dungeon. Then we look at one of the options is the Tome of Adventure Design by Matt Finch, Chapter 3. So I figured, hey, why not? Let's go for it. This is a big boy book. It's really big. It's awesome, by the way. I haven't made it through the whole thing, but I looked through a lot of it. A lot of it is meant for GM preparation. However, you can use a lot of the tables in the book for solo play, provided you are patient and you're willing to go through the tables and roll on things. For dungeons specifically, there are 3 tables we will be looking at today in the book. So there is the transition between dungeon areas table, and that one's pretty standard. And then there is the what comes next table, which is a D100 different things for a dungeon. And then there's a different version of the what comes next, which uses other tables within the chapter. So depending on how we're feeling, we can either just roll up a situation or a room, or we can kind of build out a situation if we need more information, or if we're feeling squirrely like that. We're going to assume that some time has passed since the last thing with, we'll roll a d8 for that. So 6 hours has passed, and now Wulf is being sent down to the secret pits. 6 hours has passed since the unfortunate Junoor was struck on the head by a rock, which killed him. And the mysterious stranger from the last episode, we don't know who he is. We know that he got the ashes of a cockatrice in this room, and then he left somewhere into the darkness. He's like a scholar from the city, from King Tower, the nearby city. We have no idea besides that who he is. So if we run across him again, we'll probably be asking questions to see if he's in the dungeon. Then we may learn more about this character. So let's do this. So Wulf gets released into the dungeon, and the reason for the time spacing is obviously because Evelyn, the halfling warden, who has a pet basilisk named Crick, has been instructed that you should not let the prisoners go, too close together, because then they might, group together, and then they could overwhelm you and, overthrow and leave the dungeon. And so that's why there's kind of this space to wait to see if the hero comes back, and if not, then they send the next person down. So it's Wulf's turn to go down now. So we're going to roll just randomly to see on a, let's see here. we will say on a 1, 2, or 3, he heads south in this passage, or on a 4, 5, or 6, he makes it up to this passage. So he is coming south to this passage. So he's come down, he's come past this crushing room, and he's now in this south passage to see what is down here. Okay, and in order to do that, we will roll on this what comes next table, and we will say that this has ticked off just 1 point of his torch. So he's got 9 things of his torch left. Get this book to a position where it's going to be easy to open. And I do have like a phone right in front of me that's filming my face. It makes it a little bit hard sometimes to see what's actually on the table in front of me, so I have to like look around or look over. If you ever see me looking up, I'm looking at a different camera which is filming things from above. So that's just the nature of the beast. I'm sure there's probably some cool camera out there that it's very unobtrusive, but right now I do not have it. So looking at the what comes next table for this room down here, let's see what is here. Well, first of all, let's ask the Oracle, is there a door? Okay, we got a 1. It's the most extreme version of that version of the answer. It is a extreme no, exceptional no, so there's no door there. So let's say not only is there, no door there, there is just this big open cavern, like bottomless pit, like it just drops into blackness. Okay, and it kind of looks like a cavern, and we'll say that there's like some kind of a breeze blowing up from below. You don't know how far down it goes. And so Wulf sees this. Can he see the bottom? We'll ask the Oracle again. We got a 12, which is a yes. So he can see the bottom, which is funny because we just said it's a bottomless pit, but he can see the bottom of a bottomless pit. And is there anything down there? We'll ask the Oracle again. Exceptional no. So I don't know. He can see the bottom of this bottomless pit, but it doesn't look like there's anything down there. So there's a cavern floor and it's really far down. Is there anything like across this chasm, this, big giant pit that he can see? So asking the Oracle again for that, we got a 9, which is a no but. So no, he can't see anything across. But what can he see? At this point, I think it's going to be good to just roll on this what comes next table and see what it gives us. So rolling a D100, got a 41. So if we go to our 41, heat and monsters. Heat and monsters. Okay, so Wulf can feel this like heat emanating from below. And that makes me think that obviously there's some kind of like a volcano, magma, some kind of a vent. Maybe I played too much Minecraft with my kids, but yeah, there's some kind of magma below. He can't see it because we established the cavern floor is kind of empty. Monsters, he can't see anything, but he can hear stuff. He can hear like noises coming in, and so I'm assuming are there chambers down at the bottom of this pit which lead off to other areas. Okay, we got a 4, which is a no. But he's hearing the noises of monsters. Maybe they're invisible. I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but or maybe they're spirits. So can Wulf see spirits? Exceptional no. Okay, we're getting a lot of no's. Maybe we need to roll a different D20. I don't know. So he can't see anything. He really just cannot see anything down there. He just looks at the floor. Maybe it's an illusionary floor. Okay, so maybe this is part of the Shadowdark. I think with the information that we have, with the heat, with the noises, it's very off-putting to Wulf, and he doesn't want anything to do with that. So he's gonna back his way out of that room, and he's gonna head the other way. And he knows to avoid the room with the ghouls from Ruhiel's time. So he's going the other way, past the Guardian and down the stairs through the room with the teeth and all the way over to this room with Junoor. Okay. So he walks in and he sees that there are stones on the floor. There's a shattered urn. And then he sees the corpse of Ruhiel. And he sees that, Ruhiel was unlucky. And we know that Ruhiel had a grappling hook. And so Wulf sees this, obviously, and he goes over and he picks up the grappling hook. And he now has a grappling hook in his possession. I think it's safe to say that the torch has burned out from the time that Junoor fell, since several hours have passed. Torches only last about 10 rounds in Solodark. So, by the way, let's take off another torch from Wulf. I think we should just keep going. All right. So let's go further down into the dungeon. And so he sees this dark corridor in front of him, and let's see. He approaches it very carefully, looking to see what might be there. And we're going to go to the other table now. Roll a d100 for this. Got a 27. So there's a corridor long with turns or curves. We'll just kind of go up like that. All right. And then we're going to roll for another transition. Tick down the torch one more time. 27. Corridor long with turns and curves. Okay. So I'm just going to say. And then what goes on that other way? So he's standing right here right now at the end. He's looking both ways down this corridor. And down the other end, we got 82. So flipping here in the book, we see that 82 is a partially submerged corridor. So this corridor looks like it's kind of become like waterlogged. That way. Does the water and the passage, I guess, does the passage slope downwards is the question. Like, does it completely, to go forward down that way, would you need to go into the water? So we'll roll for that. 17 is yes, but. Okay, so it slopes down, yes, but. Yes, but it still is to the point where if he was to go in this water, he could keep his head above the water. Like, it doesn't completely submerge. There's no part that he can see. Like, he could keep his head above the water as he was going down this passage. So that is something to consider. Can Wulf swim? That's a good question. I'm going to say chances are likely, so we'll roll twice on our Oracle with advantage. And we'll take the higher result, which looks like we got a 9. So no but. So Wulf, unfortunately, never learned how to swim, but he is good at holding his breath. That's the first thing that came to mind with that. So, he can hold his breath for a long time. Maybe it's some kind of special thing he's developed with his, like, monk meditation or something. And so I do want to find out what's, in this waterlogged area, but I feel like, based on my last experience playing Junoor, I don't want to actively do things that can kill my character, if that makes sense. Like, I'm going to try to play the safer choices in this. So I think I'm going to go the other way for now. And if it comes to a dead end or something, we will go back to see what's in the water. And at this time, I think also it is important to note, and based on the system that you're playing with solo systems, usually you want to set up some kind of a limit, like on your dungeon. Like, otherwise it could just go on forever, right? We do know that apparently, where they think the scroll is, they think that you should be able to get like in an hour or so. So it doesn't go, and it goes in the Shadowdark, so theoretically it could be endless because it connects with each other and there's all these different places, right? But we know that Shun's litany is within reach. And so I'm trying to think of what is the best, like, usually you pick a number of rooms and usually it's random. And then the way that I like to do it, at least, is when you reach a certain range, you're within the range of completion, you start rolling to see, and you don't know exactly what it's going to be, but when you reach that range, then yes, you reach your objective, right? So you start asking if you find your objective when you get to that range. And so let's figure out a good size for the dungeon based on the Shadowdark book. So the idea is, and this is something that, again, we did not do this the way that the book says to, because we're playing solo and building as we go. But when you make a dungeon in Shadowdark, then you actually drop some dice and then you draw like boxes around those dice. It's pretty cool. Maybe I should do it sometime for a video. But the number of dice you drop determines your rooms. So let's see here, 8 dice. 5 dice for small, or 12 dice for large. So we've already had 7 rooms that we've explored. I think I'm going to roll like just for this amount, I think I'm going to roll 2d20, and I'm going to take the higher number, and that'll be the number of rooms until we start checking for the Shun's Litany, right? So I know that's even bigger than what it says here, but I just think that if we're rolling like a d12, our chances are very low that we're already, at the end, and I don't want it to be like that. Okay, so 16 is the higher number, so 16 rooms. And it's not exactly 16 rooms, it's just once we get to 16, we know that we are to the point where we have a high chance, like a really high chance of finding it. So basically, we're going to start keeping track and just doing the math. When we get to, we have like potentially 9 more rooms to go through here. So we've done 7 already, so we're going to keep track of, like 9 tick marks. Right, so let's go around this corner and see what is there. So we go around the corner and we will roll on the what comes next table and the Tome of Adventure design. Okay, we got a 12. So that would be an area with mirror or mirrors or with some sort of weird reflection-based thing you think of. Okay, so he comes to a room full of like reflective mirrors. Very interesting. And let's see where that would be. 1, 2, or 3, it's here. 4, 5, or 6, it's here. 5. Okay, so he comes over here. So the passage goes around to this corner and opens up into this room with mirrors. And what's the nature of these mirrors? That sounds like it's a good time for a prompt. What's the nature of the room with these mirrors? What are these mirrors set up? What are the mirrors designed to do other than, reflect whoever's looking at them? So rolling 54, that is conceal, and then 38 is justice. Conceal justice. All right, so conceal justice, the first thing that pops into my head is there's a trap that is designed to strike down the unjust, or whoever designed this room determined the adventures to be unworthy for. So conceal justice. So yep, this mirror room is trapped, and so we don't know the nature of the trap just yet. And I'm going to make it easy for us and grab my trap die. And I don't know. I mean, maybe we should play this out with him in the room, because there's a couple ways we could do this. We could either roll up our trap and see what it is, or we could have him start, playing with the room, trying to figure out if he can determine the trap using oracle questions, if he can find his way around the trap. I think Wulf's reaction is he walks into this room, and can he see? Let's ask some questions to kind of establish this further. But we know that there's a trap in this room, and even though we know that, Wulf doesn't know that. Okay. But he is like on his guard, obviously. He knows he's in a dangerous place. So let's see. Does he see any passageways out of here? He got a 16, which is yes. Okay, so there are some passageways. We'll roll a d4 to determine how many that is. There's three different ways out of this room. So we're going to just put in, if I stop bumping the thing here, we'll put in these 3 ways. Since those go to the other rooms in the dungeon, we're going to just, for brevity's sake, we're going to say you can't go that way. So there's 3 ways out of this room. And these mirrors, are they set up in some kind of like a pattern or like a shape, like a circle? I mean, do they reflect each other? Let's see here. So asking the oracle on that. 12 is a yes. So yeah, there. We'll go with the pattern. There's a circle of these mirrors in the middle of the room. And so I'm just going to kind of draw these lines to represent these mirrors. And the passageways or doors out of the room, are they closed? Are they closed in such a way that maybe they're like a sealed stone door that doesn't open? I mean, are we talking about like a Zelda puzzle here? Okay, 15 is a yes, but. Okay. Yes, but. So they're sealed closed, but first thing that comes to mind, but it looks like one of them is broken. So perhaps he can, is one of them broken? Exceptional yes. So super yes. Okay, so one of them is broken, and it looks like because it's broken, he can just move onwards. Like, he can just keep going if he wants. So let's mark our tally there to show that we've done one of those rooms, and then let's randomize which door it is. So 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got a 2, so it's this one. So this door is broken. And it looks like there is a transition that goes out of there. And so Wulf, again, in his own self-interest, and while we're at it, let's make sure that we take down our torch. And then we need to roll for our random encounters. We decided that this was deadly, so it's if you roll a 1. And we've now gone through 1, 2, 3. Let's just start right now. So for this room, we're rolling on a 1. It's a random encounter. No, we got a 3. Okay. And I'm changing things. I know that previously in my last game I was doing 2 rolls, but I just realized, with the gauntlet, any kind of combat is likely going to end up in the character's death. So I'm not going to worry so much about always rolling with disadvantage on these things. I'm just going to go with it. I think the character's already weak enough as is, and I think it'll make for a more interesting game if we're just pressing forward rather than really trying to, put them through a meat grinder. It's still going to be really difficult either way. All right, so I think that, again, Wulf in his self-interest is just going to kind of hug the wall, stay away from the mirrors. He's not going to go there. He's not going to go over by the mirrors. And it seems like the trap is likely to have something to do with the mirrors. Okay, so let's ask the question with high likelihood, is the trap over, does it have something to do with the mirror connection? Chances are yes. We're going to roll 2d20, take the highest result. Okay, we got a 10, so there's a twist. Okay, 9 and 10, there's a twist. Very interesting. Don't know what the twist is yet. We're going to roll on these prompts again. So, let's see. As Wulf is entering in the room, something happens. Okay, we don't know exactly what it is yet. Let's roll here, and we'll have a couple questions. Okay, 54. 54 is conceal. We already got conceal, but hey, we'll go with it. And then 36 is crime. Okay, conceal crime. All right. Again, I'm going to go with the first thing that popped into my head. These mirrors are not what they seem. In fact, they are portals to other places. Wulf doesn't know this. But as he's kind of inching along the wall, somebody comes up and throws something through one of these mirrors. I'm going to go again with the first thing that I thought of. It's a body. So they basically dumped this body into this room. And so this body comes falling out of this mirror and lands face down on the ground. And I'm going to ask the question now. Is this the body of that mysterious stranger that we saw in the last episode? Or is it somebody else? So I'm going to say it's unlikely that it is the mysterious stranger, so we're going to roll with disadvantage again. So we're more likely to get a no, but it could be something else. So taking the lowest result, it's a 10. It's a double twist. We got a double twist. All right, so we're going to do this one more time. Funny how these things go, right? So roll for our prompt. So we got an 8 and we got a 70. So twist again. Resist, surprise. Resist, surprise. So the twist there. Okay, so resist surprise. It's somebody Wulf knows from before. It's somebody that he recognizes the person that was the corpse that was pushed through the mirror. He knows who it is. So I'm going to ask a yes or no question. Is it somebody that we've already encountered? I'm going to say again, unlikely, but it could be somebody that we've already encountered. So we're going with the lower number. Okay, so we got a 3. So that's no but. So it's somebody that we haven't encountered, but it is somebody that Wulf knows from his past, which we had already established. Okay, so let's think about what we know about Wulf's past. He was kicked out of Our Lady of Mercy Abbey, so it could be another monk from the Abbey. or he worked for the Iran Post. It could be like another courier from the Iran Post, or it could be somebody else. So why don't we do like a 1, 2, or 3? D3. 1, 2, or 3. So somebody else is the 2. Sorry, I'm not trying to flip you off. Okay. So on a 1, it's going to be, somebody from Our Lady of Mercy Abbey, probably a monk. On a 2, it's going to be somebody from the Iran Post. And on a 3, it's going to be somebody else. We don't know, and we'll just roll up a random NPC at that point if that. So let's roll our D6 and see. Okay, so we got a 3. So it is somebody else. It's not a monk. It's not a courier. It's somebody else. We don't know how Wulf knows them. So we're going to have to establish that. And they're dead. So it's not super important that, we get every single little detail about them. We just need to know enough to know how it connects to Wulf's past. And maybe there'll be something, we don't know, but maybe there'll be something on their person that can help Wulf. Or on the flip side, maybe it would be something that will hinder him greatly. And remember also, something about this dungeon is there are these spirits coming to life. So that could be a really interesting encounter in the fact if this corpse is affected by that, and this revenant comes out and starts talking to Wulf. So let's build this NPC real fast. NPC names by ancestry, and we'll just randomize here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for those. So let's see, the ancestry is going to be a human, and then the name is going to be Indra. Okay, Indra. So Indra. So that makes me think that maybe it was like maybe it's a former love interest. I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind. So let's see. Is it a former love interest of Wulf's? 8 is a no. Okay, not a love interest. Somebody that Wulf knew. Okay, and let's see. We're going to go over to the NPC section if I can find it. Okay, so we know it's a human. We know we're going to say chances are that it's adult, middle-aged. And was Indra wealthy? 3 standard, no. And then what does Wulf remember about Indra from the NPC qualities? 7. Muscular. Okay, so Indra worked out. That's all we know. Let's do a couple more things. 16 is Indra had a twitch no longer. Indra is dead. And 14 can actually smell life. So Indra was kind of somebody that recognized lies at the time. And what was Indra's occupation? Looks like we rolled 2d4 here and then kind of pinpoint that. We'll roll those 2 numbers. Okay. All right. So we got a 4 and a 1. So going to 4 and a 1 and a gravedigger. So Indra was a gravedigger. Explains why Indra was muscular. She was all that time shoveling in the graveyards. Okay. So Indra's corpse falls out. She's a gravedigger. Wulf remembers her. Does she have her shovel with her? I'm going to say likely because I like the idea of that. Is a yes. She has her shovel with her. Next question. When she fell out of the mirror, the corpse of Indra, did she trigger a trap? And I'm not sure on this one, so I'm going to just go with 1 die and see. 9. So no but. But she is like right next to wherever this trigger is for the trap. Okay? And Wulf realizes it's her. And I think that he has to go figure out what happened to her. Like he's got some kind of, she was like a friend or a companion, not a love interest, but she was somebody that he did something with in the past. He had some kind of association with Indra. So Wulf kind of pauses for a moment and he's like weighing the situation out in his head. And then he goes up to investigate what's going on with Indra. Does Wulf spot the trap? Let's do a test for that. So we're going to go against his wisdom, and we're going to just say that normal chance, so DC 12. And he's really busy looking at Indra and thinking about her, so I'm going to say he's going with disadvantage. on spotting this trap. Okay, he got a 16 and 20, which is good for him. So he is looking at Indra, but just sees the trap, and he's going to avoid it. He's not going to trigger the trap, and so he's able to go and very lightly pick up the shovel. So now he has a weapon, shovel, from Indra, and he investigates Indra's body to see if there's signs of death. Are there signs of death? So a little bit of CSI here. 5. No, but it looks like Indra's been dead for a while. You know, corpse is starting to decay, and probably smells really bad. So let's say, you know, Wulf like smells it. And he like pulls his hand back, you know, and he's got the shovel, and he kind of backs up a little bit, but it's leaving the trap trigger there. And yeah, the mirror that Indra came out of. This could be a way out of the dungeon for Wulf. I have to consider that. Like, he might get out without the scroll. He might be able to just, like, go through, but then he's going to be in even more danger, potentially, of where he doesn't know where this is going to lead to. It could lead to anywhere. Probably somewhere within, like, Mist Hollow, you know, this general area that we've established, since Indra was from Mist Hollow. Or at least he knew her. Let's ask the question, okay? Did Wulf know Indra from Mist Hollow? If that's yes, then yes, it's Mist Hollow. If no, then it means it's somewhere else, not Mist Hollow. Okay, so no. So, Wulf, before Mist Hollow, he lived somewhere else. And that's where he knew Indra from. So maybe he knew Indra from his childhood. Maybe he knew Indra from before he was a monk at the Abbey. Let's just ask the question, because this will, you know, this will decide right then and there if this is going to continue for Wulf, or if he is getting out of Dodge. Wulf is going to go, he's going to look at the mirror Ranger came out of, and I think it just looks like a normal mirror. But he's going to take his hand, kind of like, if you remember the movie The Matrix, where Neo kind of sticks his hand and like starts kind of having that silvery go over him. So let's ask the question. When he presses his hand up to the mirror, does it go in? Or does it, if yes, then yes. If no, then, you know, it's solid. Whatever this portal thing is, has, like, stopped, right? Okay, so here we go. Big moment here for Wulf. Does his hand go into the mirror, the portal? Yes, but... So he sticks his hand into the mirror, and it, like, goes inwards. But before he can do anything, he feels a hand on the other side grab him and pull him in the rest of the way. And he plunges into the mirror. And he is not in the secret pits anymore. He is somewhere else. We don't know where Wulf is. But he's escaped. He's escaped the secret pits, and he never found this. He never found the litany. He never saw the mysterious stranger. He happened to find, like, a way out in a weird way, and now he's potentially in a lot of peril. And I don't know. I think that might be a good place to stop for this time. But then it begs the question, like, well, what happens to Wulf, right? Like, oh, we gotta do more Wulf. And I still want to also find out, you know, Tamra's journey, like Tamra's story. What happens to Tamra the jeweler too? So, man, this is the interesting thing about solo role playing. Sometimes it can go completely in a way that's different than what you expect. And as we see here for Wulf, like his adventure's continuing, but it is taking him out. And he's not even going to be in Mist Hollow. He's going to be somewhere completely else in the world, somewhere from where he grew up in his childhood. And we don't know. I mean, we could build out an area for that to determine that. We could roll up a couple of things to see. And what happens, like, he might just die. Like, it could just be that, you know, he just got pulled into, like, some super crazy, like, thieves guild or something, and I don't know, we'd have to really roll and see what it is. If it could be anything, but I think that it's always fun to stop on a cliffhanger. It's fun for me too, and I can kind of mull things over in my head. I don't want to leave with any sense of like disappointment for Wulf. So why don't we kind of establish that with just maybe another roll or two to get like a sense of who or what grabbed him and where he might be. So I'm going to do an oracle prompt here. And I want this to be, the reason I'm going to do this now really is because I would rather have wherever Wulf ends up be something that I come up with on the fly rather than it be me thinking about it for, a few more days before filming. So we'll do it that way. So rolling on the table here, 9 and 79. So imbue, 79%. Imbue result. Imbue result. I'm gonna think about it for a minute. So we know that this person is dumping, like potentially uses this mirror or whatever to dump like a body, and he has killed somebody that is like close or was close to Wulf when he was younger. And this is like major coincidence type stuff, right? I mean, unless this person knows that Wulf was going to be there at that point in time, maybe it's Morpheus. Maybe Morpheus has pulled Wulf out of the Matrix. Sorry, I got the Matrix on the brain apparently. Jokes aside. So I'm thinking imbue makes me think of like artificer, enchantment. Results makes me think of like finality, which is kind of like, this person is, like a murderer. And so putting that together, I'm thinking like necromancer. It explains Indra being a gravedigger, having some kind of a run-on with the necromancer. The imbuing would explain the magic, and maybe this necromancer also is the reason why Shun's litany is currently, going crazy, like why it's raising these spirits. So yeah, there's a necromancer, and Shun has just fallen into his secret lair or dark tower, wherever it is. We don't know where it is, but it's somewhere close to where he grew up. That's not in Mist Hollow. All right. So I think we're done for Wulf's story for now. It is a cliffhanger, and something I think I'm going to do for this. I think Wulf's story can definitely continue, but I think that I want to switch like my system that I'm going to play. I think I'm going to switch away from Shadowdark, and I think I'm going to try a different system for continuing Wulf's story. I think this might be a good opportunity to do Morkborg, so maybe we recreate Wulf in Morkborg. We play Morkborg with Wulf in this necromancer for the future. So I think we'll still play Tamra's story to find out what happens. We do know that there are, roughly, it looks like 8 more rooms in this dungeon that need to be explored. But yeah, Wulf's story can continue in a game of Morkborg in the future, which will be something to look forward to. All right, I hope you like this. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe and you can share. If you have a friend that's interested in solo role playing, you're like, well, this is one way that a person does it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how the game's going. Some feedback that I've gotten is that I haven't used a lot of the Shadowdark rules. And I will be honest and say that I've read the rulebook, but I haven't played enough to feel like a strong sense of familiarity with the rules. I know that a lot of these rules are very similar in system to each other. But the way that I like to solo role play is, you should try to use the rules. You should try to use the checks when you can. But also, you can use oracles at any time to answer questions, like yes and no questions or open-ended questions about the world. But when something comes down to a character's skill or like something the character reacts to, like a save, then you should try to use your tests and whatnot off your character. And then obviously combat, we're trying to avoid it in these, but if you're in a combat situation, you play with the game rules. And yeah, we only got like one more room in, but it definitely got interesting really quick. And then there's a couple new ways, that things could go in this dungeon. So we'll have to see what happens. But thank you for watching, and look forward to playing through the next one with you.